let's see, the corner. When did we bring in preschool? That was a ways.
The first 6 months, the first semester, I was a half-time teacher and a half-time principal. And we found out that didn't work because I was getting pulled out of class. Somebody would screw up in another class and like, hey, Spencer, we need you here, and I'd have to drop everything. And it just wasn't working. So at that point, the district gave me some additional responsibilities instead of teaching. Those responsibilities included a state preschool, which is for 3 and 4-year-olds, an elementary school called Harney Elementary, which is located 30 miles that way at the very top of Del Puerto Canyon. It was a kindergarten through 8th grade school with a total of 12 students. All the farmers, ranchers, methamphetamine addicts that lived up there sent their kids to good old Harney Elementary. I was also given responsibility to create adult education and create independent study. And so I used to I had cradle to grave education. I took from 3-year-olds all the way through to 65, 70-year-olds. One of the things that the 10 years here as a teacher taught me is that we had, I don't know currently, but at that time had a major issue with teenage girls getting pregnant. They would have babies and they would drop out of school. So my thing was I'd rather have you in school with your baby than out of school with your baby. So I figured I'd bring your kid with you.
And they did.
I'd teach holding an infant under one arm and chalk in the other.
Or that babies would be on blankets behind my desk sleeping.
We had,
oh yeah.
We had the office in the cafeteria. One of the offices was turned into a nursery. Mr. Rucobo and Miss Houston gave us a crib and a changing table, so we had that was our first thing. But as we worked with students and tried to develop things, we created the, wherever it is now, Infant Center,
Yes.
which is available for Del Puerto students as a priority. And so any young lady who has a baby doesn't have the reason to not go to school, nobody will take care of them. So that's something I'm really proud about. Adult Ed has turned into a very productive program for older folks, particularly folks learning English. It's very successful. Independent study has grown leaps and bounds where just about anybody and everybody who's got a brain is using it.
And hopefully this year that will become a school in its own right.
Harney Elementary closed, thank goodness. It was 10% of my job and 90% of my problems.
The only good thing about Harney was the pretty drive on the way up there.
I had a really fast car. I had a Toyota Camry Super Sport thingy. And I'd try and set a record getting up there and getting back. And I know the canyon well. I've run the canyon.
Yeah. So, but as far as Del Puerto, it's, you know, there's years we didn't have a yearbook. This was the first yearbook, 1992. Mrs. Brandt from Patterson High was teaching here, and she put this together, and pretty much every year we've had one.
The second semester of the first year is Gloria Bragg, a force to be reckoned with.
Yes.
Was brought on board as a full-time counselor. Mr. Lewis, who was one of our teachers, out of his own pocket, paid for the second office that's in the cafeteria, the one on this side. He paid the money to get it built because he thought a counselor needed to have an office that was a private office.
Yeah.
And so that was his contribution in terms of that. Gloria and I became, and it's kind of bizarre, but we came mom and pop. Okay? There was a lot of gang activity at that time, and that was very clear. This wasn't Norteño, this was not Soreño. mess around here, you're not messing with anybody but me. And having the 10 years of getting to know folks and getting to be known, I had a reputation. I never was fearful of anybody or anything because I knew my students would kill you if you harmed me. Boys had my back. Boys had my back.
This was a lot of their homes. This is where they felt safe. This is where a lot of our kids got their only meal. And we fought tooth and nail to have food brought to Del Porto. It was one of Gloria's pet projects. And it started out with every lunch was cold sandwiches.
Every other school gives a nice little cafeteria and a nice little thing. We had 3 rooms.
So,
nothing.
but she fought for that, and then eventually we have breakfast and lunch, and
we ran a snack bar at that time.
Yep.
Used to be legal to, well, we don't want to go way back, but it used to be legal to smoke. So I'd kick it on the back porch in the front room. Cigarette breaks, anytime I felt like it. We bummed cigarettes from each other. We play basketball games. I do shoot. I'm a pretty good hooper. And we'd play games around Bette hamburgers. What's the Reese's spoon? The
Tiger Stand. It used to be the Tiger Stand. Yeah.
They had some kind of special. We bet over that. Philosophy is kind of how do you make things work. The thing that I said was the most important thing about Del Puerto, and I hope it's still here, is each student matters. Each kid matters. And so many times, and this is not to criticize the high school, they have a difficult job with a large number of kids, but there's sometimes you get lost in the shuffle. And there's not enough people who care enough to say, oh, you're getting lost.
Yeah, pay attention to everything.
And so the whole idea of Del Puerto was to keep it small and that every single student mattered.
Well, and that is, I've talked to some of the kids that have come over this year, and that's the one thing they say already. This is what, the 3rd week of school? And they say, people know that we're here. The teachers know our names.
I'd drive to kids' houses and get them out of bed.
Yep.
If you didn't show
I would
up, I was knocking on the
pick
door.
kids up that lived out in the country. I lived in Modesto, and I'd pick kids up on my way in or go and get them. It wasn't a problem. We wanted the kids here.
Sexual harassment was not an issue back then. I would hug my girls. I would hug my boys. I'd go,
That's
hey,
right.
How you doing today, sweetie?
Yeah.
And I was never accused of doing anything wrong because I never did. And you know the difference between a good touch and a bad touch. And
That's right.
I think it's sad that we've lost that. I know there was a former principal here who had a major problem because he told the young lady she looked good. Well, if I can't tell you you're looking good, something's wrong. I'm not saying, hey, you're looking good. I'm going, hey, you're looking good today.
Yeah.
You're looking good. And there's something wrong with that. The other thing we got guys, the big obese guys. The high school had these stupid desks. The desk and the chair were attached to each other, and so the guy wouldn't fit. You couldn't fit, and they couldn't figure out to give him a chair and a table. And so he was failing everything. He came here, he graduated. Poncho, remember Poncho? There were girls that came because they were embarrassed to dress out for PE. They had a stupid rule: if you didn't dress out for PE every day, you'd fail. If you failed PE, you couldn't graduate. So a lot of what I tried to do is get rid of the stupid rules. Let me tell you my rules if I can remember. Rule 1: don't embarrass me in public. Privately, we can talk. You can call me names, I can call you names. We can get after each other. We get in public. My boss is here. You're going to call me Mister. You're going to be a good little girl. You're going to behave yourself. You're not going to embarrass me in public. And in turn, I won't embarrass you. Rule 2, mind your own business. Everybody wants to be a lawyer for somebody else. They want to be, oh, you're not treating him fair. That ain't your business. Just mind your own business. Rule 3, follow directions.
Never embarrass DP.
Follow directions. Well, rule 1 was don't embarrass me.
Yeah.
Or the school. Rule 2 was mind your own business. Rule 3 was follow directions. Do what you're told. Rule 4.
Gloria only had 3.
I had rule 4 was you got to show up. You know, being here is 80% of the game. If you don't show up, you can't graduate. Rule 5, Mama ain't happy, nobody happy. And Gloria was Mama.
That's right.
If you pissed Gloria off, or me, if you got Gloria angry, she would get her retribution.
Yeah.
One of the amazing things to me was there were no secrets. You would have your secret. You go, I'm going to go downtown. I'm going to steal something from the store. We'd know about it before you got to school the next day. Somebody would tell us,
Yeah.
hey, so-and-so
like
did.
that a little bit.
Yes, you're right.
You know, that if you screwed up, your fellow students cared enough about you that they would let us know, not to snitch you, but to let us try and help you change your patterns. There's some horrible stories of things that people do to their children. There's horrible stories, and it's everywhere, And I am always amazed at what I call resiliency, that kids are able to endure horrible things and then bounce back and still become and do stuff that's good. And I've seen it over and over, and it kept me going.
Yeah. I have a question for you guys. Can you guys describe how DP has evolved throughout the years?
It got a lot straighter when I left. I was crazy, okay? I had a ponytail. I really did.
And he had a bet with...
It was a little skinny thing. I mean, I couldn't grow hair for nothing. But it was about this long, and I had a little tail.
Yeah.
I'd come to school every morning. Girls would fight.
To braid it.
Can I braid your hair, mister? And they'd braid beads into it and do different tricks, you know. But
He had a bet.
I had a bet with the superintendent. No, I had 2 bets. One bet was with a student, a group of students.
Wasn't it Bongi?
Well, that was over my beard.
Oh, okay.
I made a bet. We had a thing we called a referral. You still have those?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Okay, you screw up, you get a referral. I said, okay, guys, here's the deal. One quarter of the year, you guys go with less than 10 referrals, the whole school, I'll shave my beard. So they did, and I did. And the newspaper covered a big deal, you know. And then I grew the ponytail, I grew it, cut it off once, and then grew it again. And the cut it off again was a bet with a kid. He won.
Yeah. He got to cut it off.
I was wild. I was not wild. I was crazy. I still am. And I'm kind of proud of it. We're all crazy. We just show it in different ways.
Yeah.
Mr. Rucobo became principal after I was here. Mr. Rucobo is a much different person than I am. He is very, by the book, straight, nice guy. I'm not saying he's not a nice guy, but he didn't have the same sort of way of operating.
He did things differently.
And then after Mr. Rucobo, there was a real bozo that came through for a while. And then another guy that was here for quite a while.
No, for about a year and a half.
Okay.
And then
Tanya. Miss Bibbins, who I always say this, the best thing I ever did for education was hire Mrs. Bibbins. She was
subbing.
She started as a substitute teacher. As we developed independent study, she became an independent study teacher. She then worked into a part-time job at Del Puerto, part-time independent study, into a full-time job at Del Puerto, and ultimately became a vice principal at Patterson High, and then came back here as principal, and now is back as principal at Patterson High. So she's come a long way, and is a wonderfully bright, talented. charming person. I like
DP
her a
has
lot.
a very special place in her heart. In all of our hearts.
So how has it evolved? I think it's much better now. When I started, I was supposed to, in 3 hours, I was supposed to teach 6 grade levels, 14 subjects in high school, and I don't even know how many in junior high, to the 30 worst kids they could find, with $250 a year. And think about 14 subjects in 3 hours, 6 years of grade span, and $250.
And he had books that were no longer valid at the high school that they just kind of
They'd
were
throw
going to
'em-
throw
they'd throw 'em-
away, so
they'd
he'd pick
throw
them
'em
up,
away
so
and I'd
he'd
go
have
pick 'em up.
curriculum.
I'd go steal stuff. I would borrow things from teachers.
Busted.
It was, what was nice about it is they left me alone. They weren't over here looking over my shoulder all the time. As things grew, there's more looking over the shoulder stuff. You got more accountability. You've got the kind of things I did and pulled off couldn't work today. They wouldn't. I'd get fired.
Yeah, it's different times. And what is something really bad that has happened here? Something really good?
Really bad was any time we lost a student, whether it be a
In 20 years, I
Current
lost
student.
14 kids.
current student or a past student.
The
Yes.
worst day was, there were 2 bad days. The worst was we lost 3 in one night.
Girls.
Joey Echeverria and what's her name? Deckard and Casera. Greyhound bus took out 3 kids. That was real hard. The other one was Felipe Garza. You know the Felipe Garza story?
Yes.
I was Felipe's teacher. And, the last thing I told him was I was going to get his rotten little self when he came back to school because he stole my Christmas present. Some kids gave me some pistachio nuts for Christmas present, and it was the last day before Christmas break, and he stole them. Come back and he's dead, so you deal with it.
Yeah. Best thing?
I have
Oh, wow.
a young man, I won't give his full name, but his middle name is Spenser. And that is the greatest honor I think I've ever had, is to have a student feel strongly enough to name their child after me.
And Gloria Bragg, our counselor, has a little girl named Gloria.
Another
Simon
student.
Perez's little girl. Yeah,
So
named for her. That they,
that's
our
the
kids
kind of thing you can't pay enough for.
respected them enough to name their children after them. Yes.
The neat thing is, I still have, at this age, they're now friends.
Yeah.
This morning I was in having coffee, got a cup of coffee, and one of my former students is in the coffee shop, and Spenser will say hello.
I've been in like Home Depot in Modesto and have these arms come around me. Mrs. Buchanan, room 122, because when I did in-house, and it's a former Martine Cortez, former student from here, and it's wonderful to see the kids succeed. We have kids that graduated from DP that are highway patrol, that are our attorneys.
Real estate, banking.
Yes, they've gone on. They have
Three of the current members. I belong to an organization called Rotary International. Hoity-toity, supposed to be the big boys in town. 3 former Del Porto students are members of Rotary.
they're businessmen, business people in the city, and yes, our kids can go on to college and get 4-year degrees and be very, very successful. That's what's most rewarding.
Because what was happening when most of them got here was they were going down the tube. For whatever their background, I'm not even getting into your stuff. Something went on where your life was not in good condition, and hopefully you're going to bring it around.
That's right. It has come out pretty much.
Good. I can tell looking at you, you're in good shape. I can
Very,
tell looking at you.
very confident. Yes, she is.
Yeah. And I have another question. What did you miss most when you stopped working here?
The kids. Working with kids was my joy. Working with adults is a pain in the Yeah, I mean, dealing with teachers, and all respect to teachers,
It's
but
yeah.
there were some teachers that did some really stupid things that I had to deal with them, and it's
in the
not
beginning. In the beginning, a lot of the teachers that we got were teachers that had gotten into trouble.
fun. Not true if you look at the faculty in your
Well, that's true.
Two
were.
Two were
A lot of we got a lot of cast-offs. Over the
there
years.
was a thing then, and it was true for students. It would pass the trash. Patterson High School would pass the trash to me,
Okay.
and then the district would pass the trash teachers to me. So I would
But-
get some of the worst teachers in the course of my 20 years.
And the
that's
teachers
really-
we have here now are teachers that want to be here.
See, I didn't
and
get
they're
to choose.
excellent.
I didn't get to interview
Excellent.
and choose. I got Mr. So-and-so was assigned to me.
Right.
And, you take them and you deal with them. And
Right.
I fired 3 of them quit while I was here, which was I didn't fire them, but I pushed them out and they quit.
Yeah.
Because they were, you better like welfare because you're going to be on it the rest of your life.
That's what they tell the kids.
How many of you kids think you're going to college? You raise your hand. Are you kidding me?
You know.
That's the kind of stuff
and
I
that's
was
not
dealing with.
anything like we have now. Nothing.
Yeah, I know.
I had a
Teachers
teacher
are very
that
supportive.
invented the fact that he'd been poisoned by the students and had missed the last 2 to 3 weeks of school. Well, the last 3 weeks of school, you need everybody on deck. He's gone.
Yeah.
That's when Bivens came and subbed and saved her bacon. Okay, next.
Oh, for Betty, what is the thing that you're
The kids. The kids. I love the kids. I bark and scream and do what I have to do, but I love the kids. I'm gonna miss working with the teachers and the staff. It's gonna be an adjustment.
Yeah, if he's gonna miss you. Sure. Do you guys want to talk a little bit about the yearbook?
This was the first yearbook. As I said, Mrs. Brandt put it together. We have pictures in here of a baby that graduated from Del Porto last year. That was Danielle Luna. Her mother was here when Danielle was a baby. And we have students here this year that Martine Zepeda and Mary Ann Tanda, Alexis Zepeda's mom and dad both went here. Yeah, it's very rewarding, right there. Oh, and Erica, it's her older sister. It's not Danielle. Okay, but yeah, it just these were the babies. It just yeah, these were the
You wanna move
mamas
in
and
on
the
this?
babies.
I don't know if you can pick that up.
Yeah, and we still have, mamas and babies. It's
Yeah,
wonderful.
there's still-
But now we have a place for them to go, the Head Start, and that is wonderful. And yeah, this was our first yearbook and hardcover, and
Go back here. This was the
oh
school.
yeah,
That was it.
this was the school right there.
That was the front office building. That was it.
That was it.
Mm-hmm.
None of this existed.
Yeah. We had one classroom. This was the cafeteria. This was from M Street. Yeah. Yeah. So it's really come a long ways.
You can see how far it was over to north.
Yeah, just really crazy. And DP had people thought of Del Porto as you don't want to go there because everybody's rough, and it's not that way. It's kids are here because they messed around and didn't get their full credits and need to catch up. And the majority, not all, but the majority of our kids, once they get here, decide to stay here.
I always told folks, you take 30 bad kids, you put them in a room, 20 of them become good kids. Immediately. It just happens.
Well,
Imagine.
kids don't have to prove anything here. They're individuals and they're recognized as individuals, and that is something that they don't have in a larger setting.
I think there's another thing. There's a lot of tolerance here. people will allow you to have red hair, allow you to be black, allow you to be gay, to allow you to, it doesn't matter what you are, it's how you are.
Exactly.
It's, Martin Luther King put it, the content of your character, not the color of your skin. If your character is right, it doesn't matter what you are.
It's what you have in here.
I know a lot of gay, lesbian, bi kids found a home here because people would say it doesn't matter. Over there was a big deal.
Yeah, they didn't belong there.
So
Right.
again, each student matters. Each person is important.
Very much so.
Well, thanks a lot for this history of DP, and we
I
learned
hope
a
we
lot.
get a copy.
And
Yeah.
of course, yes.
Yeah.
I'd love to get a copy.
And yeah.
Well, thank you.
Okie doke.
Thank you.